started entertaining in 2010. So it's been 12 years this year. This year made 12 years.
Okay. Did you ever do drag?
Well, I've never done a like drag officially. I did a house pageant back in the day before I started Male Entertainment. I started Male Entertainment in 2010, and I think I did like the house pageant like 2007, 2008. And it was just something that I entered just to do. It was something here in the community, and it was a house pageant. But only thing that it was different was you didn't have to worry about doing household items. You still did presentation. It had to be like the color of the like the HIV awareness, something like that. So it had to be like red or black. Talent was regular talent, and then it was only sportswear. I don't think it was gown. Yeah, it was presentation, talent, sportswear. And so I did it, and so I really wasn't really putting too much effort into it, but I had a couple of other people that were doing it that had already been doing drag. And so they were like, "Oh, you're not gonna win. You're gonna be the laughing stock." So I'm like, okay, so once you really test me, then I'm gonna go ahead and I'll reach out to a designer, my brother, this El Cabanage, Michael Sales Designs. I said, we got to get a presentation. I need to get a sportswear because I'm going to show them I'm going to really do this. And I did it and won the pageant.
Amari, I want to say this here because I think it needs to be said. And the Black community and the Black gay community needs to understand that they are a powerful source hiding underneath greatness. They have been doing so many beautiful costumes. They do makeup, hair. Our community should be very wealthy beyond belief. And I'm seeing this, there's now a real pushback now. And I don't think it's even so much about the Republicans and what's happening with the voting. I think it's more about they now realize that we have been ignored a very long time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I feel like we're breaking barriers. The barriers that has been up for years, for decades. I'm glad that we're finally taking a stance and we're knocking those barriers down because, we didn't have opportunities back then that we have now. And even now, sometimes a lot of opportunities aren't given to us. So we have to take the opportunity. And once we take those opportunities, then that's when others are going to follow. And then that's when we can, of course, stand strong, united.
Mm-hmm. Now, let's talk about the former titles that you have. You're a former Mr. Black Continental, Mr. Sweetheart International, and Mr. Black, it says, I can't read what she wrote here. I think it's Emperor.
Yeah, so my nationals, as far as my former national titles, former Mr. Black Continental at large, a former Mr. Sweetheart International at large. I'm a former North America Supreme and a former Westland Grand Emperor. So those are my 4 national titles that I've ranged for on the at-large system. And then National Showman is my 5th national title. And it's my first national title as a regular division. King, we have the at-large, the regular. So I have 4 national at-large titles, and National Showman is my 1st and 5th national title. First national title with those skinny boys. Let them know I'm here now in this division.
Well, I was going to ask you about that. There's also been a lot of talk about the bigger men in pageantry. Now, do you feel inadequate when you go into one of these pageants? Because I've seen some of the Mr. Continental pluses, and they don't look, plus to me. I mean, even though they're tall and all that, so I see where the weight is at. But when you think you compare yourself to them, how do you feel because in plus you would think everybody would be really, normally you would see everybody that is really a plus size person.
Right. And that's where it's so not that way. It's because what is plus? Like plus does not have a picture in the definition next to, I mean, a picture in the dictionary next to it, you know, so you have to only follow the guidelines that that pageant holds or requires for plus and at large. So if their guidelines are 200 pounds or 6'2" or 6 feet in height, that's the guideline. So that means for that particular pageant, you meet the guidelines and you qualify. So I don't think plus has to, you know, be looked at as you have to be fat, out of shape, large, you know, juicy. I don't think that, but as that's the biggest misconception with plus and at large. In the plus and at large arena is many people, the patrons and the community that's watching on, they're looking like, oh, that's not plus. Well, what is plus? Because this guideline says as long as I'm 200 pounds, I can do the plus division. But I've never felt like, even when I was in the plus division or at large division, I never felt, and more than most times I was the skinnier of the contestants that I competed against. Sometimes, not all the times, because I had got pretty big. I was at like almost 255 pounds. Like I was pretty big. And so when I was still doing the regular division, I felt like at that time I did have a disadvantage because now my clothes are getting a little bit tighter. The guys are coming in with swimsuits and I can't wear swimsuits, so I'm wearing clothes. And so at that point, that large division was the best step for me to take. And that was even hard for me to step up to do the at large because I had already been doing regular boy pageants. I've won skinny boy pageants before my nationals. I won King of Hearts, which is now Peak State. I've won a Mr. Capital City International in Virginia. And even then I went against some good boys like Lavelle Babyface Houston, Rio Blue in Virginia. And I was successful that night for Mr. Capital City International. So I've competed Mr. Florida Extravaganza here. So I've competed in skinny boy pageants that I was successful at winning. It was just over the years gaining that weight and getting bigger, clothes getting tighter. Then here I'm looking into that large pageants and I was like, oh, no, because they're going to read me. They're going to think I'm just trying to go take the easy route out. And I remember Tanisha Cassadine, I talked to her about it. And because she lived here in Tampa, we're very close. She lived here in Tampa as well. And I was at her house and I was like, Queen, because we Mr. GQ, we won GQ together. I was Mr. GQ and she was Miss Forever Bad. So I was like, Queen, I want to get back out there, but I just think that I've been looking at the at-large pageants, but I don't want them to think I'm just trying to be skinny and go to at-large and get it tighter. She was, her exact words, she was like, King, go get all that shit. Do it all. I do Miss Duval and Miss Duval Plus. I do Continental Plus and Miss Continental. It doesn't matter. She was like, I'm Continental Plus, but Jim Flint calls to the stage, Continental to the stage. He does not call Continental Plus to the stage or Continental Elite to the stage. Whenever you're Continental, you're Continental. Mm-hmm. So I was like, well, that's a good way of looking at it. She was like, yeah, so if you want to go be sweetheart, it doesn't matter if you do sweetheart at large, you'll be sweetheart. So after that conversation that we had, it really helped make my decision to go ahead and step into the at-large arena. I talked to Antoinette Chanel Roberts and Kyle Asante, because at first my husband, he was against it. He was like, no, like he flat out told me no. But
let's talk about something that when you mentioned, you know, that you live in Tampa, mm-hmm. Let's talk about boots on the ground. This is what I call it, boots on the ground. What the gay community is doing to help its own community in Tampa. I see that Miss Reva Black is doing a lot. I don't know if you know who she is.
Yeah, of course.
I know Miss Reva Black for many, many years, and I had to push her to do a few things that I thought would improve her life. And we are good friends until this day. Oh. Now, what is the gay community and what is the former Mr. Black Continental, Mr. Sweetheart International? What are you guys doing for the gay community? How does all of this pageantry contribute back into the gay community? I'm not going to say the Black community because we're not the Black community. We're a whole community of different races and personalities
Well,
in
I
the
mean,
world?
I do a lot. I do a lot for the community, and I do it selflessly. Like I don't like I have a show, my own show. I have a Lavish Hip Hop Thursday nightclub here, a night at a club here, Cityside Lounge every Thursday night. So I'm able to give opportunities for other entertainers to perform and get a start. Like I tell,
Mhm.
I post on Facebook all the time. I'm not looking for the best of the best to come and entertain. I'm looking for the entertainers who just feel like they can't get booked somewhere, so they can't touch a stage. We have my stage is open to all. Come on, come do a show. If this is your first show, come do a show, because this can be the platform that you may need, that because then get you seen by other show directors and then say, oh, I want you to perform, and open up doors that way. I'm also very involved with Midway Specialty Care Center. That's one of our nonprofit organizations here that specialize in HIV testing and STD testing, STIs, vaccines. They just had a outreach last night and they were doing monkeypox vaccines. So Tarico Ross, he is actually the director at Midway Specialty Care. Kyla Santi, she's one of the outreach specialists there. So I volunteer with them. I even have them come and they do testing on my club night on Thursday nights, free testing, free condoms, all that stuff. So, and even with our Tampa Pride, when it's Tampa Pride every year for the Tampa Pride, I'm on the committee. I volunteer to the Tampa Pride committee with organizing the Pride, the whole parade and all that stuff. So I make sure that I'm definitely remaining visible in my city, because it's beyond the titles and the accolades and things like that. It's really about what are you doing after.
Okay, I'm going to ask you one more question, and then we're going to proceed further into about you and your life. Okay, I want to talk about the Black community in sense of, I see the real pushback now with the Black community, and I mean, we have done so much in the world, and it's great to see people now moving their asses and being very visible, like you said. Now, let's talk about watching the internet and watching a lot of the shows. She wrote here that she sees a predominantly Black audience, regardless of if we understand Atlanta is a Black city. So we understand the large population of Black patrons to support the contestants for the pageants and the shows and all of this. But you living in Tampa and the surrounding areas, where is that white audience? Why are they not attending these very visible shows that we are filming and showing on social media?
Well, I think on my Thursday night, it's actually very diverse at Cityside Lounge, because really I have the only Black night there. I have a hip hop Thursday. So all the other nights are predominantly Caucasian nights, and I think they have a Latin night on Sunday. So on Thursday, I have a very diverse audience. Like I have more Caucasians and Latins, and even this past Thursday, there was a Chinese patron there, and he had the time of his life. I mean, drinking. I mean, because we don't change our music. It's a hip hop Thursday night. It's a hip hop night. Mm-hmm. So we stay true to the night for the music. I mean, and he was dancing. I shouted him out on the microphone because I enjoyed seeing other ethnicities that are there enjoying themselves other than just predominantly Black people. So and then also I work at Southern Nights Tampa in Ybor City, and that is very diverse. Kyla Santi hosts the show there, and whenever I'm booked there, sometimes once a month I'm booked there. And
tell Stephanie Chappé I said hello.
Who is it?
Tell Stephanie Chappé I said hello.
Stephanie Chappé, she's at Southern Nights.
She's in Ybor City, I think, somewhere over there working.
Ybor City. Okay, so yeah, I'll Stephanie Chappé. I'll see what maybe she's at Bradley's. But yeah, so clubs like Southern Nights and Bradley's, now they're definitely more diverse and predominantly Caucasians go there, but they don't really have like a hip hop night or anything like that. So you really wouldn't see too many, Blacks there. But I know at Southern Nights, we definitely go to Southern Nights pretty often on Friday nights, Saturday nights. So we're trying to bridge the gap. We definitely do. I know between my night and Southern Nights, we're definitely, you see more of a diverse crowd between those two clubs.
Okay, let's talk about this, and then we'll get into your life. What do you think of RuPaul's Drag Race? And down the road, I mean, I'm hearing several different things, but we're not going to talk about rumors because that's not what we do. We wait until we see what is what, and then we talk about it. I want to talk to you about RuPaul's Drag Race, the impact it has had, both good and really bad on some levels for our community. So what does Mr. National Showman think of that show?
So to me, I love it. I get jealous that they haven't had a Mr. Some sort of RuPaul's drag king or something like that. Because I think it's an amazing platform. I think it's given a lot of talented, underrated queens the just due that they deserve that they weren't getting locally. So I really think that it's an amazing platform. I really enjoy seeing past cast members that are really doing something with the platform given to them. I have quite a few friends and family members that have been on RuPaul's Drag Race, that are on RuPaul's Drag Race Live in Las Vegas, and a couple that is just filmed the new season as well. So I think it's amazing. I don't really see the bad. I don't really see the bad in it. I know I see others' opinions online as far as, the bad. But to me, I just think it's all good for whomever is blessed enough to make it on the show. I think it's all good.
Well, we're grateful that RuPaul created such a great show. There's a few other new shows that are going to be popping up that might create an opportunity for a lot of people that might have negative opinions about the show. But there's some new shows that are going to be popping up that will be creating opportunities for a lot of different entertainers.
Yeah, that's amazing.
This is what I'm hearing. So we will see until I know they're in development of writing these shows. So, and I've been asked to be a judge for a couple of them, but we'll see how all this turns out.
Well, good luck to you on that, for sure.
Now, let's talk about Amari Lavish and your life with, I don't want to say his name wrong, your husband, Sari? Brian? Okay. You didn't say Brian in your thing.
Oh, his stage name is Kamarion.
Oh, okay. So
he's an entertainer as well.
Let's talk about you and Brian. Now, as you know, like I said before, the reason I'm recapping a lot of this because we watch what's happening on the internet. Okay. We're seeing a lot of the Black masculinity about this top and bottom issue. I'm sure you've seen it. And now, when you and Brian met, how did you guys meet?
So we met like informally. We met at Black Universe in 2011. Tarico Ross, he's my gay father. He's one of my gay fathers. Tarico Ross competed for Mr. Black Universe that year. And Brian was in Tarico's talent and I was in Tarico's talent. We didn't talk to each other. We didn't even know each other. Tarico was just like, son, I need you in my talent. I need you to be a fanboy. And, it was like 4 or 6 fanboys. And that's it. We were just fanboys. So fast forward to like a couple of weeks after Black Universe, Brian hit me up on Facebook and he messaged me and he was just like, hey, weren't you one of the fanboys in Tarico's talent? And I was like, yes, I was. You know, who are you? And he was like, I was too. Didn't even know it. And I was just like, oh, okay. And literally, like, he hates when I tell the story because I really was just like paying him dust. I was just like, okay. And that was it. And then it was just like the, how are you doing? How was your day? Then the good morning messages. And I'm like, looking at his profile, I'm like, this man is in Alabama. I'm in Florida. Like, I'm good. And at that time, you know, I was, not to, you know, sound big headed, but we are, you know, in our own right. Sometimes they consider us like, you know, gay celebrities, you know, especially when you're at the peak of your career in pageantry. And at that time, I was like one of the hottest newcomer boys out in 2011. I had just won Mr. Duval. I had just won Mr. Duval newcomer, Mr. Dumar International, to get ready for Mr. Dumar. So I was just like, okay, he's probably just another groupie, another fan. And the next thing out of his mouth is probably going to be like, oh, I do shows. Can you help me? So I really wasn't into dating male entertainers because that's how most of them, they try to befriend you. They act like they want you. The next thing they, you know, oh, can I wear that outfit that you wore a couple of weeks ago? So I kind of was just like paying him off, you know, dusting him off. And then he was persistent. He really was. And so then I started going through his pictures and I was like, oh, he's kind of cute. And I just started really just messaging him back and really then starting the conversation and replying to him. And I wasn't really being short anymore. So that's how we met.
Now, let's talk about a few things because I'm trying to put in perspective not just your relationship, is how the community around our relationships in general and what has landed you into this 2-year marriage. You guys are married now, right?
Correct. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And you have a 12-year-old daughter and a 7-month-old son.
8 months now.
8 months. Now, I want to talk about the hookup culture just for a minute. Okay. Not necessarily that I'm talking about you and Brian. I'm just talking about, you know, sometimes when we go to these events or we go to these parties, we've seen people that maybe we've seen on hookup apps such as Grindr or in the States, Jack and those other Craigslist and all those things there. Now, how do you feel about the fact that you met Brian, but did you ever ask him about being online with, you know?
When I met him back then, because again, I lived in Florida, so I wasn't trusting someone from Alabama, you know, and we, so to be honest with you, my mindset was just to really, I mean, I don't know if I can cuss on here, but my mindset was just to really just hit it and quit it.
Okay, now I wanted to, because you said it perfectly. She stopped me. She told me to stop you there. So that was good. Let's talk about the children now. Mm-hmm. The 8-month-old and the 12-year-old. Mm-hmm. And you two, are you guys Christians?
We are, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Baptists.
Because you know I'm from Orlando. I'm originally from Orlando. I grew up in Fort Lauderdale, in Miami. Okay. So I know most of the people from the States, you know, around that area would be Christians.
We are.
Now, I almost said it the wrong way. Are these biological children?
So my daughter is, and our son, we adopted our son. Okay. So my daughter, when I met Brian, my daughter was 9 months old when I met him, you know, during those times. And we talked for a few months, and then a few months I went ahead and had him come here to Tampa, and we had a good time. And so that's how we started. And so for 2 to 3 years, we did the long distance relationship thing. And my daughter, the day that he came to Tampa, she was 9 months old and she was spoiled. If someone held her, she would cry. If I left the room, she would cry. And being a Christian and a child of God, I pick up signs, and God sent me a sign that morning, and He reached for my daughter, and she reached back out for him, and she lets him pick her up. And I was just like, that's not like her. Like, this is my daughter, like, it's my child. Like, if anybody pick her up or if I leave, she's gonna cry. So I left the room to see if I was gonna hear her cry, and she didn't cry. And I was like, she must like you, because that's not Saray. Like, that's not her. So that was my first sign. I was like, wow, like, okay, well, my daughter likes him, so let me continue to grow to like him. And so we did the long distance thing for 3 years. Like, whenever I was booked out of town somewhere, I would, send for him to meet me there. We'll meet up in whatever city and state I was going to be in. And then finally, we decided to make it official and moved him here. So over the years, he's always wanted to have kids. And I was against it because at this time, my daughter was getting older. And I'm like, I'm not starting over, because I had my daughter from birth. So with my daughter, I was in another relationship, and he and I planned to have kids, and so that's how I conceived my daughter. And we did the whole surrogacy thing from birth, right out the hospital. My daughter came home with us. So I've already had all those experiences of the sleepless nights and the waking up, every 2 hours. So as she got older and he wanted to have kids, I didn't want to start over. I'm like, I just don't want to start over. Like, that was hell. But getting married, getting a house built, and then I had to, realize I can't be selfish. Like, I have to give this man the opportunity, because he's now, vowed to spend the rest of his life with me. So it's only right that I do give in. And with our son, we had a friend of mine that I've known for many, many years ago. And she was pregnant, and she was going to give her baby up for an adoption, and she was going to an adoption agency. And she literally came, it was a secret. She came to my house right before the day after Thanksgiving, to get some dressing and some ham. And she was, I heard her talking to our other friend who was taking her to Colorado to the agency she was going to go through. They house you throughout the rest of your pregnancy until you have the baby. And she was literally leaving 2 weeks after that date to go to Colorado, to be housed until she had my son. And she told her friend, who I know, she was like, she mentioned something about, after I had the baby, and I said, "You pregnant?" And she was like, "Yes." And she was like, "But I'm not going to keep it." She said, "I'm going to give him up for adoption." And I was just like, well, we should talk, because we're actually looking into having another baby, so we should really talk. And so she was like, "Are you serious?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, we're going to go the natural route again." But I said, if you're already pregnant, you want to give your baby for adoption, we can talk. So we had a long talk, and we talked with my husband, and we even met with the child's biological father. And they came back over here to our house. They toured our house and talked with us. And that's what I appreciated most about her. Even though she was giving her baby for adoption, she still cared about the well-being of her unborn child. She literally, she brought him here. They looked at the house, see where he'd be sleeping at, and make sure we had room. And, and I've known her for about 15 years. So it wasn't anything personal, but this is her baby. And so probably about 2 or 3 days later, she called me and she said, "Alex," she said, "we want you all to adopt the baby." And that's how it came about. And it's so ironic, because people look at our son. Some people say he looks like Brian. Some people he looks just like you. He's mine. So,
Well, that's a wonderful story, Amari. Now, it touches me when Black people, we've always taken care of each other. We really have. Even in the communities, we fed people that we don't even really know in our community. And people just really understood how amazing the Black community is with each other when things aren't, concerning in certain ways, whether it's about religion or about work or lack of. And these things have, and it's not without the fact that we haven't been trying. Black people have been trying and doing for, like you said, years and decades. And now the opportunity has come for us to sort of make some headway and some decisions about things that we should have probably been doing from a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
And you adopting a child and then having a 12-year-old, I couldn't imagine having a 12-year-old girl in the house with a same-sex couple without her little girlfriends coming over, and this is my parents. And how does that work? Have you had that?
We've had it, like, of course, a child only, a child only sees what they're taught. Mm-hmm. And since day one, I've always taught my child to love all. I don't teach her to see sexuality. I've never taught her to see color. So she doesn't see that. So all she sees is she has two dads. Like that's what she sees. And now my daughter, she knows who her biological mother is. Now that she's gotten older, I even let her go spend the night at her mom's house sometimes. She texts her mom and her phone and everything. So it took years to get to that point because I didn't want to confuse her at an early age. But growing up, it was all about, I have two dads. But we did experience the first bit of kind of like her getting picked on. I think she was in like the third grade. And at that point, I was walking her to the bus stop. The bus stop was on the corner of our house. And so one day she said, "Dad, what's gay?" And I said, "What do you mean, what's gay?" She said, "Because when I got on the school bus, one of the boys said, 'Oh, your dad's gay.'" So that was when I had to have the first conversation with her at about the third grade about what gay was, for her to understand. And she was just like, "Oh, so he's talking about my daddy?" And so, she was all mad then. But now she's in the sixth grade. Now she's in the middle school. So now she has a voice. And so now she's more so a voice of reason. And I also feel like this is almost 2023. So I'm praying my son is going to have it easier because gay is not the thing like it used to be back in the day. Like, "Oh my God, you're gay? Like, oh my God, you're adopted. Oh my God, you have two." So I'm praying when he's her age, it's going to be a thing in the past where he won't have to deal with what she is. Because like, I know in middle school now, she just came home probably like 2 weeks ago. And she said that, what did she say about somebody had asked her, why does she have two dads? One of her friends asked her, why does she have two dads? And she was like, I said, what did you say? She said, well, I told him because I got two dads and a mommy, So I said, well, yeah, that's a good answer. That just means that you're what? And she said, that means I'm more loved. And I said, exactly. And I've never told her to, like, even with Brian, I've never like told her, like, she doesn't even call him dad. She calls him Brian. But when she introduces him, it's always, this is my dad's or these are my dads. And that was that's all on her own.
Amazing. That's amazing. That's amazing. Amari, it's great when we can teach our children to open up to what the Black community think is norm or what we're taught in the church. And we're now realizing that a lot of those things are propaganda or just things that have just been over exaggerated, and people have interpreted it the way they want it to be, and to make things better for themselves or to make them more accepted in society. But it's good that we're having this pushback now. Now, I want to talk about one more thing about with the family structure here. You and Brian, when you go do you guys go to church?
We haven't been to church since before the pandemic. Yeah, but we we were going to church. Both of us and our daughter.
Okay, let's talk about you.
We get the stares. They look at us crazy.
No, I understand. I understand. Let's talk about you now is Mr. Showman, the current reigning Mr. Showman. Now, let's talk about your proudest moment of entering any pageant. Which pageant are you the most proud of? And they just did right by you as a contestant entering the contest. They fulfilled all
So,
their obligations, and you will never forget them.
so I want to say not to, sound like cliche because I'm reigning, but in the title is National Showman. So that's actually it will be that. I'm proud of all of my accomplishments. Like every pageant that I've won it like it means something to me, like winning. National Showman, I would say this means the most to me because it was my crossover pageant. Not only just into the regular division, it was, we have unfortunately, we have where they consider the black pageants and the white pageants. I don't see that. I see pageants are pageants. But that's how the community divides pageants, and predominantly they will consider National Showman as a white pageant, like they would, Continental or US of A, or so it would be National Showman because I feel like I broke down a barrier for our community that they probably didn't really think that could happen. And I'm not even the first African-American National Showman. You have Christopher Iman, you have Monty St. James, that has won as well. But me being the current, I know already I've had more African-Americans message me about National Showman than I believe they've ever had competed before. So that's definitely a goal of mine, is to bridge that gap with the African-American community and National Showman, so they can get that negative stigma out of their mind.
Okay, this is something that I think is controversial in a sense, and I want to talk about this because it's relevant, and the girls are talking about it online. A lot of the female contestants in the female audience, whatever pronoun they're under, they've been talking about the male when they're watching the men pageantry. Now, of course, we're hearing now about the sexualized part of male pageantry. And then we're hearing about the non-masculinity of maybe some of the male contestants, mainly when they're walking in swimsuits or even regular suits. They don't, because, of course, the gay community, back in the day, we thought the Marlboro Man was butch, and that's what all men really should look like. And you got a mustache and boots and a cowboy hat on, you're butch, and that's what they think of. Now, have you ran into, I'm sure you've heard the talk about men walking in the pageants.
Yes, definitely. I've heard it. I feel that if you're doing a Mr. pageant, of course you should present yourself as a Mr. I think that you have to go to, that's all about knowing your system, and you have to really go and compete to where you will fit in at. So if you're more on the feminine side, you should go to a pageant like National Showman, Gay US of A, pageants that, when you are a little more feminine, you're not going to really get a lot of backlash. But I really more so experienced that more so on the black circuit, because on the black circuit, that's when you have to be masculine. You have to walk a certain kind of way. You can't do this, you can't do that. So, and I get it. You are presenting yourself as the Mr. So I agree to a certain extent where you should still present yourself as a man. Now that I do agree with. I don't think that you should just be up there just fagging out during formal wear. You should present yourself as a debonair man. Okay. So if you feel that's hard for you to do, then learn your systems and know where you would best be, where you would fit best at.
Okay. Now I want to talk about something else she wrote here. Let's talk about you. How do you feel about trans men entering a competition with you in any of the male pageants? So let's just say that any of
I
the
don't really care because we only know they're trans men because they told us. 9 times out of 10, a lot of the trans men, you can't even tell they're trans men. So if they didn't volunteer the information, we wouldn't know anyway, and we'll still compete. Because that's what it's going to make them. It's going to make them not tell that they're trans, and they just do the pageant. And then what? So just because we know they're trans men, that shouldn't say, oh, you can't. He can't do the pageant. He just to go do a male impersonator pageant. Well, then why would a trans man go do an MI pageant when that is male impersonator? When at this point they're no longer impersonating a male, they are a male.
Okay.
So me
Now,
personally, I don't have a problem with it.
okay. Let's talk about you now. Because we're winding up here. You've done really well. You've done really well here.
Thank you.
So let's talk about your journey as Mr. National Showman.
Just
Now,
national showman. It's not even a Mr. because the showman,
mm-hmm.
it takes out the Mr. So it makes it even easier. Just national showman.
Okay, National Showman.
Mm-hmm.
National Showman Amari Lavish. Now I want to see the crown and the thing, the medal, because I loved it. I thought they were beautiful. So I wanted you to show it to us if you don't mind.
The crown is out there. I didn't want to wear the crown.
Oh, well, that's good. That's good. That is beautiful. Who designed it?
To be honest with you, I don't know. Because they had a new jeweler this year. I know who the previous jeweler was, but I'm not sure who the new jeweler is. But it's absolutely beautiful. Mm-hmm. And then this is my sash. It's going to be beaded before I give up the pageant. It will be beaded and stone. I mean, it has to be. So I'm actually sending this off next month. I got a couple of walks to do this month, so I can't risk it being gone. And I have a walk, actually I have a walk, 2 walks, 2 weekends in a row, next weekend and the weekend after that. But so that is it.
That's amazing. So what are you doing now? What are you doing now? Are you learning new music, making new costumes?
Yes. I'm learning new music. I'm working on a Lil Nas X mix. Yeah, I'll just put it out there. I've never ever done any of his songs ever. Even going back from Old Town Road, I've never. But National Showman is pushing me as an entertainer because my audiences have changed. They're not changed. My audiences, my son's dropped something. My audiences has not only not changed, but it has increased. Like I have a different audience now that's watching me and even booking me. So my song selections had to be more diverse. So Lil Nas X is one I'm working on. So yeah, I'm working on that. I'm working on new costumes as well, because of course you know can't repeat stuff and things like that throughout the year. So that helps keep the closet growing. Mm-hmm. I'm hosting the People Choice Awards December the 30th in Nashville, Tennessee. So I'm excited to be have been selected as the host for that December 30th. So of course working on my attire for that. And then gearing up for Christmas. My daughter's birthday is February and my son's birthday is March. So I have 2 birthdays back to back to prepare for, a 12-year-old birthday and a 1-year-old birthday. So that's pretty much all that I'm working on personally and professionally.
Well, I want to say, Amari Lavish, you've been very entertaining. You've been quite honest. I could tell when you relaxed, and a lot of it was more from your heart, which was amazing.
Of course, definitely.
She threw 2 thumbs up and said, "Well, we got it." So I was like, "Okay," because I didn't want to just come right out and just be bold with the question.
Oh, I don't mind. Like I said, I'm an open book. I've always been open and transparent. I mean, from day one, from my relationship. To my imprisonment, to my kids, because I always feel like my story can hopefully inspire others. and to know that the test is only just a testament. That's all it is. And most of it comes from me going to prison. I went to prison in 2013, and that really, that 1 year away, it changed my life. Like and it was needed. And so just being away for that year, it let me know I couldn't be without my child. Like I wouldn't ever be without my child, like ever again. To leave my daughter for a year, she was in good care, of course, with my ex-lover at the time and my mom and all that. But that right there, it let me know, it's not worth it. It's best to get an honest job, a 9 to 5, live your life. If you got to live paycheck to paycheck for a little while, that's what you got to do. The fast money is not where it's at. And that's why, today, even with my husband and I getting our house built, that was another big accomplishment for the both of us. Just coming from where I've came from and coming from where he's come from as well. Because his story is pretty unique as well. Like my husband literally moved here with nothing but a duffel bag. Like that's all, just a duffel bag of clothes, and that was it. So I always, pride myself on just letting him know how proud of him I am. He's been here 8 years, and in 8 years he got a career. He's had another child, has a home built. So it can be done. It can be done.
Well, this is amazing. I didn't want to add. I was going to ask you. I saw when we talked. I mean, when I think it was brought up in conversation about you being in prison, and I didn't really, because we had spoken to Paula Mosley, and she had a prison story about being a trans woman in prison, which was very intense and sort of very informative and opened our eyes to a lot. And of course, a lot of the pageant queens have done some time or another for whether they're trying to get their silicone, their hormones, or just trying to live in general, or pay for their costumes or whatever the situation is. And we wanted to focus more with you about the family and the pageant, the male pageantry, because we thought I will do a catch-up show with you and Brian down the road so we can talk about your prison time and the family, the homes that you built, and how you said that he's come with one duffel bag and turned his life around and things are real good. And this is an amazing thing. And the fact that when I watch your stuff online, I can see that you're very focused and very guided in a good sense, because I don't just add people's stuff for no reason. My agent, even though she's an older lady, she's very smart, and she always says, "You are smarter than me," because I know good things when I see them, and I always look for the underlining dramas first before I do anything. So I already knew a little bit about you before, but I wanted to focus on what she wanted the show to be about, because the Black community is talking now, and we have their ear, and we need to make sure that they understand your story, and coming from a Black perspective, and coming from a Black trans woman, and us moving and grooving in the right directions. The fact that we're talking is a good thing. And so I want to say congratulations, National Showman.
Thank you.
And I want to say congratulations on the new house and the fact that you and Brian are raising these children with, with good values and an open mind about whatever it is that the family in together is going to go through down the road, and what the family is going through now. It's really important to show children that we are all the same, regardless of what race or nationality we are. It's Christmas time, and like you said, the birthdays are coming up, New Year's Eve is coming up, and I know you're going to be very busy. And I appreciate you letting me share your stuff. There's no motive behind us sharing your stuff. We share it because we are looking to show other people like us that we all can do good things to help each other. and make our voice louder, heard louder. So I just want to say, Amari, thank you so much for doing
Thank
the show for us today.
you. Yes,
And I want to close with this. Let me say this to my audience. I just want to say thank you, Amari Lavish, for coming on today, National Showman, for being on the show and teaching us and educating us here at Pronoun TV and the Stephanie Stevens Show, the real life reality of what Black families go through. And now that we're all online talking to each other, this is an amazing thing, and mainly with the gay community. And it's about time. It's about time that we start talking, sharing our ideas, and sharing our resources, and just being together, talking, communicating.
Networking, definitely.
Networking, yes. And so I want to say to you, Amari, can you give us some closing on what you think the challenges are for Black entrepreneurs? What should they be trying to do? Black entrepreneurs, and mainly Black gay entrepreneurs, because I see us doing a lot of pageants and all these things. But when you don't own the clubs and you don't own the venues, what do you do so you can have a sustainable career, open doors for other people, and have an income to come into the Black families that can build Black communities?
So what can they do to, as far as helping build?
Well, what's your advice to Black entrepreneurs? Mainly gay Black entrepreneurs.
So my advice, I will have to really say to Black entrepreneurs, is to, one, put your customers first. Put your customers first. Put yourselves in our shoes, because they are customers as well. Even though they're entrepreneur, they patronize other businesses, even if it's just to go buy a hamburger from McDonald's. They're a customer. And because I don't like to see entrepreneurs that are rude or being nasty and things like that, because that's not going to, your business is not going to grow, and it's not going to succeed. You know, customer service. I'm very big on customer service. I have a customer service background, so I'm very big on customer service. And for more so a message to them is to save. Like, that's really to just our community in a whole. Save, because we never know where our next dollar is coming from. Even as an entrepreneur, whatever it is that you're selling, you never know when the next product is going to be sold. So it's very important and I feel like in the Black community, to save. I feel they're so busy trying to keep up with the Joneses. If they make $1,000 because they know they get paid next week, 900 of it is spent on clothes and jewelry. And they're, I got $100 to last me until the next week. But you never know. You never know when the next dollar is going to come in. You never know, even if you're not an entrepreneur. You don't know if that job is going to lay you off. So that would be my advice. And my kids, they're going to close. They're going to just wave at you because my daughter's just itching to wave. She keeps hearing her name. But sorry, come and wave. But that'll be definitely my advice. So just wave. This is Miss Stephanie Stevens. So these are my two munchkins here. So that is Saray, and that is Saray. And he's having.
How are you?
So say hi. So we talked about you too, Mr. You don't say
hello.
Hi. He's one. Okay. So what's this? So that would definitely be my advice to any entrepreneur, and to the Black community as a whole. I'm big on savings.
Well, Amari, thank you so much for introducing me into your life and saying hello and being nice to me, for never meeting me and opening me up to the world of Male Pagentry, the family of a gay Black family. raising children, something that we don't see on the day-to-day.
Mhm.
And it's great that you and Brian have created this family structure with a home, and understand that, of course, in the past you made mistakes, you've moved forward, and you're making a
Mhm.
better life for you and your children. And this is amazing. And then yet you're still doing something that you love, the pageants.
Yes.
And this is why you're a national showman. Um, and I just wanted to say thank you. And I take my wig off to you to say you're doing great things. And
Thank
I'm not just saying that to say it. You really
I
are.
appreciate it.
And
I
for
appreciate
you to have caught our eye online means that you're doing amazing things.
it.
So to
Thank
you and
you.
your husband, I congratulate you on your relationship, and your home and your children. And I just want to just say thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
you. Thank you so much for you all to even have recognized little old me. I appreciate it. I use social media in a positive light. It's not all about negative. I like to use social media in a positive light. Showing off my kids and my husband and my family, and obviously it catches attention. And I think in
This
our
is something the
community,
world needs to see.
something that the world
This is
needs to see
something the world needs to
is
see
for
on
them
a
to know
constant basis. We
we
need
can
to
do
stop
it.
hiding, and you're doing
We
great.
can do it. We can do it. So many of our people in our lifestyle, they feel like, oh, I'll never have kids. Oh, I'll never say never. It can happen. I never thought I would have any kids, to have one and then to have two. And a little secret with you, before it gets aired, we're working on a third one. And
Oh,
that's it. So so it can happen. It can happen.
so when do you give up your crown?
So I relinquished my title September the 16th in Kissimmee, Florida. And
Hmm.
I'm gonna take a break after that, because we have talked about expanding the family. And so I'm gonna just focus on that, because if we're planning on expanding our family next year. So hopefully by the time I relinquish the title, it'll be about time to bring on the new edition, and it'll be time for me to take a break from the nationals. I'm gonna take about a year break from the nationals. I'll still go and compete, locally and things like that, pride pageants and stuff like that. But it'll be time to just take me a break, raise these kids, and still do what I love to do, return to certain systems at former, still performing, but competing takes a lot. The way that I like to compete, it takes a lot of money, time, and effort. And giving up this pageant in September, I'll just ride the rest of that year out. And I think I'll be doing something like the end of 2024.
Mm. So on that note, I want to just say thank you so much for doing this
You,
show for us today. And
anytime.
I want to just say thank you to the audience for watching. This is Mr. Amari Lavish, National Showman. Um, he's the current reigning, and he has shared his story with us here today on Pronoun TV and the Stephanie Stevens Show. And we appreciate his honesty and his insight into things that are changing. And we're talking now. So I just want to say thank you so much, Amari Lavish, and you have a blessed day.
You as
And thank
well.
you to the kids, and good night, National Showman.
Good night. See you again. Bye.
Bye.